We're coming on the air as just in the last hour, the U.S. vetoed a UN Security Council resolution demanding a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. This as more alarm bells are being sounded about the humanitarian crisis with Israel moving further into Gaza. Hallie will join us live from Israel in just a moment. Also, rain, snow, and high winds expected to sweep through the country this weekend. We'll tell you what areas could see potentially dangerous weather. Plus, Hunter Biden facing new criminal charges tonight with allegations that he spent money on pretty much everything except paying his taxes. The next steps in the legal fight and the possible political costs for the father of Hunter Biden, the president of the United States. And the FDA approving a groundbreaking potential new cure for sickle cell anemia. Patients are breathing a sigh of relief, but will they be able to afford this cutting-edge treatment? Plus, you know the sort of nightmare you have to go through when you buy tickets to a show or a sporting event? Well, some senators are getting together today to try to help. We'll tell you their plan to make tickets cheaper and easier to get. Hi, I'm Christine Romans. I'm in for Hallie Jackson. And breaking news just before we went on the air, a Michigan teenager who killed 4 of his fellow classmates and hurt 7 more was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The sentence coming down after 31 impact statements from victims, their families, their friends, all expressing the hurt the gunman caused them. Listen.
Our family has a permanent hole in it that can never be fixed, ever.
To the waste that took my daughter's life, that name will never come out of my mouth.
There can be no forgiveness. There can be no rehabilitation.
Ethan Crumbley was 15 when he opened fire at Oxford High School just over 2 years ago, cutting short the lives of his classmates, Hannah St. Juliana, Tate Meyer, Madison Baldwin, and Justin Schilling. Prosecutors say Crumbley used a handgun that they say his parents gave him as a gift. They are now facing involuntary manslaughter charges because police say they ignored warning signs about their son's mental health. NBC's Maggie Vespa is following this for us. I can't imagine how emotional it must have been inside that courtroom. Take us in there. What else do we see and hear?
Yeah, Christine, that was just a snapshot, a poignant one, albeit, but a snapshot that you played there. I mean, this was a long day. As you said, 31 victims giving impact statements ranging from parents and siblings of the 4 students who were killed to students who themselves were shot, detailing the injuries and what life has been like since, to others, students and staff who were cowering in the building and trying to get a hold of their families, telling them there's a shooter in the building, telling them they love them. We heard it all today. And basically the point of this was those victims, we heard time and time again, were pleading with this judge in Michigan to give now 17-year-old Ethan Crumbley the state's harshest possible sentence, which is life without the possibility of parole. And the judge did that and then some, actually issuing 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. One of them for a count of terrorism causing death, which Crumbley pleaded guilty to. It pleaded guilty to all of these. And then the remaining 4, for each of the 4 counts of first-degree murder tied to the 4 victims who died that day. Here, just to kind of help you wrap your arms around how emotional this was, here's some more of what we heard in court for several hours today. Take a listen.
I want the person who did this to know that Madison would have been your friend. I want you to know that she would have treated you with nothing but kindness had you not killed her. I'm not sure how much emotion you're capable of feeling, but I hope you regret it. And I hope it eats away at you.
So many tears today. And also, Christine, multiple minors who spoke. The judge directing cameras to point elsewhere. We weren't supposed to show their faces. We're not going to. They were allowed to name themselves if they want. But basically, the judge doing everything he could to give anyone who wanted it a platform to kind of just detail their pain before handing down that sentence, Christine.
Just awful. And now next year, we're going to see the shooter's parents go on trial for allegedly providing him the weapon that he used in that shooting. What do prosecutors hope to prove there in a rare instance where someone other than the shooter is brought to trial for their involvement in a mass murder?
Right. This is such a rare hallmark of this case, as you point out. You just saw them there, Jennifer and James Crumbley, the parents of Ethan Crumbley. As you said, they're facing involuntary manslaughter charges, 4 each, 1 for each of the 4 killed, because, again, as you said, prosecutors say they got their son, they bought their son a gun, as an early Christmas present, despite what prosecutors say were clear signs that he was grappling with severe mental health issues, including depression, and he had written in his diary. Prosecutors haven't said that the parents had read these writings, but he wrote, and it's since been entered into evidence, that he wanted to commit the largest mass shooting in Michigan's history. So they are now trying to hold these parents criminally responsible for this shooting that played out and terrorized this community. As you said, we're expecting that trial to begin next month, as early as next month. Both parents have pleaded not guilty. They'll hold separate trials, and we reached out to their attorneys today. But it's important to note the judge has issued a gag order in that case. So as expected, we did not hear from them. Also, one more final important note. The parents were not allowed to be in court today to watch their son receive this sentence. Christine.
All right, Maggie Vespa, thank you so much for that. All right, just in the last hour, the United States blocked a key resolution at the United Nations for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, saying it would only benefit Hamas. As Israel keeps pushing the war deeper into Gaza, we're hearing dire new warnings about the humanitarian crisis that seems to be growing worse for people in Gaza every day. Thousands now fleeing to the southern border city, Rafah, where there's reportedly no space left for people to shelter, with no food, electricity, no water running out, too. We're seeing a new international push to protect civilians. A top leader at the UN putting out a new letter saying his staff inside Gaza can barely operate, with more than 100 of them already killed in this war, and predicting more of them are going to die.
Some of our staff take their children to work so they know they will live or die together.
Let's bring in Hallie Jackson in Tel Aviv. What more do we know, Hallie, about the crisis inside Gaza right now and how it could possibly get worse?
Listen, for so many of the people who are there already, Christine, based on the reports that we're hearing out of Gaza, they are already in hell. I mean, you think about that line that we just heard there from one of those top UN leaders, that people are going to work with their children so that they will either live or die together. It speaks to this moment, how this humanitarian crisis is deepening there. You talk to, for example, experts at the World Food Program who say that the vast majority of families in Gaza haven't had anything to eat in some instances in a full day, that is part of the regular course of events here. And it gets to what we're seeing now, the displacement of more than 80% of the people, roughly, it's estimated, who are in Gaza. Many of them had moved to the south, but of course, Israel is pummeling both the north and the south. We have seen this intensification of fighting even today, as the Israeli military now says that it is interrogating dozens of suspects that they brought back to Israel, including, they say, Hamas commanders. There was also a raid in which Israel tried to rescue hostages. 2 Israeli soldiers, they say, were seriously hurt. Hamas claims that one of the hostages was killed in that operation, Christine. That is the backdrop to what we are seeing now and to the crisis that we're seeing in Gaza. I want to play for you what we're hearing from one Palestinian teenager. More than a dozen members of her family were killed. She lost a leg. Here's how she's describing what she's seeing.
We wanted to say goodbye to my uncle and his family when they wanted to leave. My cousin went to pray the afternoon prayer around 4 o'clock. Then the explosion occurred while we were sitting, and as a result of the explosion, we were pushed back from the force of the missile. I found myself and my sisters covered in stones and smoke filling the place.
That's the reality of what she has had to go through here, Christine. That's why the backdrop of this that you just referenced here, this new news coming into us tonight, that the United Nations Security Council has had this call for an immediate ceasefire blocked, is relevant here. But it's not surprising that the U.S. moved to veto this. That has been the United States position really since this war began, as the U.S. has defended Israel's right to attack the Hamas terrorists who came into Israel on October 7th, Christine.
And Hallie, we're also just learning about, I guess, a new glimmer of hope here. A key border crossing in Gaza will open in coming days, they're saying. A U.S. official tells NBC News. Well, what more can you tell us about that?
So significant in that it is a boost in some ways to what the U.S. has wanted to see. And this is according to a U.S. official, more help getting to the people who need it, right? More water, more medicine, more food. That's been essential here. This is not, however, a border crossing like what you're seeing at Rafah, where there is stuff going in and people coming out. That does not appear to be the case at this point. This is going to be a location where trucks, for example, are inspected, they are screened, and then moved down to the Rafah crossing to get through. Again, the hope is that this will try to open up the spigot for aid to get to where it needs to go, but there is still, I think, some tempered optimism about what it can actually do. Christine.
So glad you're there reporting on this, and keep us posted. Hallie Jackson, thank you. All right, back here at home, the man now facing federal charges in connection with shots fired outside a synagogue in Albany, New York, appearing in court for the first time in just the last couple of hours after he was arrested and charged with possession of a firearm by a prohibited person. No one was hurt in this incident. It took place just before the start of Hanukkah, with New York Governor Kathy Hochul expected to attend services there in just the next 30 minutes. Emily Akeda is following all of this for us, joins us now live. What more can you tell us about this?
So we're starting to learn a little bit more about the suspect. He's been named as Mufid Al-Qadir, a 28-year-old man, Iraqi-born, but also a U.S. citizen. And we're told that he was local to the Albany area. He appeared, as you mentioned, in federal court today for the first court appearance, and he's facing a federal charge of unlawfully possessing a firearm as an unlawful user of a controlled substance. He had told investigators that he regularly used marijuana. He also told them that he has felt the impact of the events happening in the Middle East. We've talked about and reported on how police say that he had at one point shouted "Free Palestine" during the incident. Less than 24 hours, this court appearance coming less than 24 hours after, remember, police say he allegedly fired 2 rounds into the sky from a shotgun outside of Temple Israel in Albany. Remember, just hours ahead of the first night of Hanukkah, sending a wave of fear over that area. Keep in mind, inside the temple have been 24 preschoolers inside. Now, fortunately, no one was injured. He was quickly taken into police custody, and now he's going to be detained pending trial.
So zoom out. This is one synagogue in Albany, but this is a real concern around the country.
Yeah, absolutely. This is part of a much broader conversation. And I will point out, Temple Israel itself, just a few months ago, actually experienced a bomb threat, and then it had this shooting happen yesterday. Keep in mind that security has already been enhanced across the state at Jewish sites. That was from an order, a directive from Governor Kathy Hochul. Well, now she's ordering police and state resources to ramp up that effort even more throughout the rest of the Hanukkah holiday. And in light of this recent incident, I want you to hear from someone who is a member of the Temple Israel, his reaction. Take a listen here.
Now we're seeing daily reports of violent incidents and actions against Jews in their persons, in their places of worship, and where they work. That's profoundly frightening.
And so if we zoom out a little bit, you look at hate crimes across the board for the state of New York. In November, they were up 90% compared to the year before. If you look at specifically online anti-Semitic rhetoric, that has surged an immense amount as well. They had cited something like nearly 25,000 incidents since the beginning of October. So just stunning numbers.
All right, Emily, thank you. Nice to see you. All right, tonight a major cross-country storm is marching east. Millions facing the risk of damaging winds, hail, and possibly some tornadoes. The storm's moving through the Rocky Mountains and out into the plains and dropping some snow along the way. Winter advisories are in effect for parts of the Northwest, where over a foot of snow could fall through tonight. And it's also forecast to see more of that pouring rain that's been overflowing rivers there this week. The rest of the country also bracing for a wet, windy weekend, and it really ramps up tomorrow. I want to bring in meteorologist Bill Cairns right now.
Should I just apologize now?
I was going to say there are no weathermen in America will be having a weekend. Everyone's going to be working. Forecasters working, right? It's going to look a lot different depending on where you live.
It's all about the timing, right? It's a fast-moving storm, so that's good. It's not going to ruin your entire weekend. You just don't want to get caught in the middle of it. So it doesn't look like much right now. I mean, we have some snow, yes, in North Dakota, and the snow is breaking out in areas of Colorado. This is the beginning of our weekend storm as it heads this evening out into the plains. So the first stop where we're going to have some showers and thunderstorms, northern Arkansas and through Missouri. Kansas City, anyone driving between there and St. Louis around Columbia and Interstate 70 will have some issues, and some rain trying to move it to Chicago. Again, that's at 10 p.m. this evening. So during the overnight hours, the storm will continue to progress to the east. It's going to pick up all that moisture from the Gulf, and these thunderstorms will erupt tomorrow afternoon. So I paused this at around 5 p.m. These are the line of thunderstorms just outside of Houston, heading up through central Louisiana, Alexandria. And again, we may have isolated strong to severe thunderstorms on this line. So that'll be the first concern. It does not look like a tornado outbreak break out this time. But again, it only takes one tornado for a really bad afternoon or evening. But wind damage will be the biggest threat, which you could lose power, which you don't want to go through the weekend without that either. And this is, again, slight risk, so it's not going to be widespread. Then Sunday is just a mess. This is paused at 8 a.m. Showers and thunderstorms through Georgia, upstate South Carolina, right through Charlotte into Raleigh, heading for Richmond, Washington, D.C. Rain breaks out. Notice you start dry, New York to Boston. That will quickly end by about the lunch hour. It'll be pouring in Philadelphia, D.C. to New York. That afternoon football game in Baltimore and also at MetLife Stadium with the Jets. It's going to be windy and it's going to be pouring rain. And then on the backside of this, come Monday morning, rain changing to snow, Syracuse, New York State Thruway, and then just kind of windy and wild. 8 a.m., not a good time to be traveling in southern New England, Boston, all the way up into Portland, Maine. So, yeah, again, a lot of big impacts with rain, 1 to 3 inches, and then the high winds could have power outages and coastal flooding. Long Island, Nantucket, Cape Cod, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts is nothing to sneeze at, even without leaves on the trees.
It's December. We're talking about rain, 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 rain.
Yes.
A little bit of snow, but rain. Talk to me about how warm it's been for this time of year.
Yeah, this is not a snow lover's storm. We're not going to get much of it, and the areas that get it, you know, it's only going to be a couple inches. So this is the snow forecast. You know, Catskills could get a little bit in the Adirondacks, but that's about it. And the temperatures are just going to be extremely warm. I mean, look at Saturday. In the 60s, we could hit near 70 in areas like Richmond towards Raleigh. Even New York City is going to be in the 50s. Northern New England's going to get into the 40s and 50s. And even on the backside of this storm, there's not a lot of cold there. Not like, you know, like lookout cold, like wind chills, we're worried about it. You know, even Chicago, 37 on Sunday, 66 in D.C. and New York. That's why this is going to be primarily an all rain and wind event. Not have to worry about ice, which is nice for if you have to do any traveling. But for getting in the holiday spirit, you know, those brown trees, we call it twig season.
Yeah.
You know, it's in between when the leaves fall off and you get the snow. Just a lot of twigs to look at.
Twig season. All right, Bill Cairns, thank you so much. All right, Hunter Biden tonight preparing to face new criminal charges related to his taxes, the latest result of a special counsel investigation into the president's son. The indictment sparing no detail about Hunter Biden's publicly known struggles and his lavish lifestyle, describing money spent on drugs, escorts, girlfriends, luxury hotels, exotic cars, summing up his expenses as, quote, everything but his taxes. The 9-count indictment out of California, including 3 felonies and potentially 17 years behind bars, comes just a few months after he was hit with separate firearm charges across the country in Delaware. Let's bring in our team covering this. NBC's Tom Winter and Ryan Nobles is on Capitol Hill. Tom, I want to start with you. Break down how this indictment portrays Hunter's personal life and his personal struggles, all resulting in these tax crimes.
Well, Christine, it's acutely focused on it. I mean, they would even pull passages from his book and his memoirs about his personal struggles with addiction, struggles that he says he's overcome and that he is now sober. But it does focus on a period of his life that was very much in tumult and a very difficult time for him, particularly what he was spending on women, on what he was spending on adult entertainment. We're looking at some of this now. Pretty significant figures here, over $680,000 in payments to various women. And the reason why the special counsel's office says in their indictment that they include this in here is they say, look, if you focus on what he was spending versus what he owed the United States government in taxes, they say it's clear that he could have paid his taxes if, in fact, he had shifted his spending priorities. And that's one of the things that they key in on in this indictment today, not just failure to file, but that he also made some willful errors and violations of law when he did file those tax returns.
You know, in a statement, Hunter Biden's lawyer said if his client's, quote, last name was anything other than Biden, then these charges never would have been brought. But look at what he's accused of and just the quantity of the dollars here. Is there any merit to that statement?
Well, it is very rare for tax cases to go the criminal route. Most times they are solved on the civil side. That's just the statistics. As far as whether or not Hunter Biden was specifically targeted here or not, you know, when you talk to the people that opened this investigation, particularly IRS whistleblower Joseph Ziegler, he has said, and he's testified to Congress, that the investigation was opened out of a separate case. Nobody directed him to look into Hunter Biden. And it's one of the complaints that he's brought, Christine, to Congress in telling them, hey, there are some problems with this investigation. You should look into it. We talked with him a couple of weeks ago. Let's take a listen.
We've brought forward facts of what happened over my 5+ year investigation into the president's son. There were leads that we didn't follow. There was evidence that we didn't follow. There were things that we didn't do in those 5 years that were essentially halted from the prosecutors.
The special counsel's office in a statement last night says that the investigation remains ongoing, so we don't know if any of those avenues are in fact going to be gone down by the current investigators on the case. It's something obviously, Christine, will closely follow.
Right. All right, Tom Winter, thank you so much. Ryan Nobles, let's get to you now. House Republicans are planning an impeachment inquiry authorization vote for next week, focused on the Biden family's business dealings. Does this indictment help their case against the president?
Well, there's two ways to look at this, Christine. There's obviously a legal implication that is involved with Hunter Biden's situation, and then there's a political one. Tom talked about the legal implication. It's my job to talk about the political ones. And impeachment is really not a legal process. It's a political process. And it's important to point out that, the president's name, the name Joe Biden, does not appear anywhere in that indictment. There's no even hint of wrongdoing by President Biden. But that's not stopping House Republicans from suggesting that the situation that Hunter Biden has found himself in somehow tracks back to the president in some way, shape, or form, and they believe that means that their impeachment inquiry should push ahead. This is what the Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith had to say. Unless U.S. Attorney Weiss investigates everyone involved in the Biden fraud schemes and influence peddling, it will be clear that President Biden's DOJ is protecting Hunter Biden and the big guy. The big guy, of course, a reference to a text exchange between Hunter Biden and his business associates, which Republicans have interpreted meaning the president. And then also, actually, that was James Comer's statement. I'm sorry. This is Jason Smith's statement, the Ways and Means Chairman. He says those charges further confirm the need for Congress to move forward with an impeachment inquiry of Joe Biden in order to uncover all the facts for the American people to judge. And so what's going to happen next week, Christine, is that they're going to formalize this impeachment inquiry. Now, it's already underway. They've been doing it without that authorization. They believe that having the full House vote on it, that will allow them the opportunity to enforce their subpoenas, principally one of Hunter Biden, who's scheduled to testify this week, but has said he won't do it unless it's in an open setting. If they're able to get the impeachment inquiry through, there's the real possibility that in addition to all his other legal problems, that Hunter Biden will end up with a contempt of Congress charge if he doesn't show up for that deposition.
All right, Ryan Nobles, Capitol Hill. Thanks so much, Ryan. All right, just in the last hour, markets closed up after new numbers out today showed a surprisingly strong and resilient American job market. The S&P closing at a new high for the year. The Dow up 130 points after the economy added nearly 200,000 jobs, and the unemployment rate ticked down, beating expectations on both fronts. These numbers a good sign for the Federal Reserve's biggest goal here, a soft landing where inflation comes down from those stubborn highs without tipping the country into a poor job market or a recession. You can see here a few sectors that had some big gains, notably healthcare, hospitality, manufacturing. The new data coming just days before the Federal Reserve's next meeting, where interest rates, the Fed's main tool in that soft landing crusade, will be top of mind. NBC's Brian Chung is over at the big board. Brian, these numbers, these are the last ones we'll get before the new year. You know, I think we started this year, everyone said this 2023 was going to be the year of recession. It's the year of the resilient job market, and it's finishing just quite strong.
Yeah, Christine, the expectation was that this landing was going to have a lot of bumps and turbulence, but it appears to be smooth, at least so far, with the initial descent. And when we talk about the non-farm payroll gains, as you mentioned, 199,000 jobs added in the month of November, a faster pace than we saw in October. But again, that unemployment rate of 3.7%, that's the 22nd consecutive month that we've seen an unemployment rate below 4%. We highlight some of the industries that have seen a lot of the gains: leisure and hospitality, healthcare going gangbusters in the month, motor vehicles and parts also adding jobs because of the reversal of the UAW strike, which was resolved between this report and the report prior. But of course, the one thing that the Federal Reserve is looking at is wage gains. We've seen the pace of wage gains on a yearly basis, 4%, November this year to November of last year. Bit of a slower pace from the 4.1%, but more importantly, and this is a trend we only started to see in the summer, this is above the pace of inflation, 3.2%. That's certainly good news for the Americans that, for the most part, post-pandemic, have had their wages eroded by inflation, Christine.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I think so many of the polls about how people feel are bad, because for much of this past period, inflation has been growing faster than wages. But we got some numbers today, too, news on consumer sentiment that show that maybe people aren't feeling so terrible after all. What do those show us?
Yeah, well, University of Michigan printing out their new reading on how consumers are feeling about the economy, and it seems to show some optimism about where they feel their wallet is at this point in time. So when you take a look at the figures again from the University of Michigan, you could see that the figures did show a 69.4. This is their measure preliminary in terms of how they're feeling. That's above 62, which shows, okay, well, they feel a little bit better. And what's important, too, is year-ahead inflation expectations. People don't expect prices to rise as much as they did the last time the University of Michigan did this reading. It fell to 3.1%, which was the lowest since 2021. And interestingly, we do have to just kind of add the caveat here. Inflation expectations usually tend to track gas prices very closely. So perhaps they're looking at the pump and going, well, maybe this means everything else is going to go down as well, which could be ill-advised in some cases. No slight to the University of Michigan there.
It is funny how that weekly gas price is something that's just a real feel indicator for so many people. Brian Chung, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. All right, coming up, more fallout tonight for the University of Pennsylvania president after that anti-Semitism hearing on Capitol Hill. We're live on campus with a look at how students are responding tonight. Plus, more reported deaths tied to tainted cantaloupe, where health officials say this outbreak is growing. A new CDC study says chronic fatigue syndrome is way more common than previously thought. That's in our 5 things. But first, tonight, ask and you shall receive. Some big leaders in Washington clearly paying attention to that Ticketmaster fiasco in 2022. And remember when Taylor Swift announced her massive hit Eras tour? So 6 senators from both sides of the aisle are introducing a new bill today called the Fans First Act. The bipartisan act aims to protect buyers from inflated ticket prices on existing live event ticketing systems that a lot of us have come to know. They're also focused on building accountability measures for bad actors. Remember the heated situation when online ticket sellers, mainly with Ticketmaster, which is by far the largest retailer, reached a boiling point in 2022 when demand to see Taylor Swift's and Beyonce's tours crashed the site and sent prices soaring. Noah Pransky joins me now, and only Taylor Swift could bring bipartisanship in Washington, D.C., right?
That's what it'll take.
What does this bill do, and what sort of a change might it have for the industry?
Yeah, we're talking about some historic momentum here on the consumer front because this bill, the House has their own bills, but the Senate bill, really, they're proposing a couple things here. One is major transparency initiatives, both in the prices you see and also where the tickets are coming from. The price you see, according to this bill, would be the price you actually pay upon checkout. Imagine that. It would also ban speculative ticketing, which is when someone is selling a ticket they don't actually have. It often,
happens?
Yeah, it can really hurt the consumer for obvious reasons. The other thing here, it would guarantee refunds if the event is canceled, which, believe it or not, that doesn't happen all the time either right now. So the good news, again, not just good steps forward for the consumer, but it is a bipartisan initiative. We have Amy Klobuchar, the Democrat from Minnesota, teaming up with John Cornyn, Republican from Texas, along with a few of their other colleagues. You can see them here. These are your leads on this effort in the Senate. We also have it happening in the House. Everything's moving forward, and a watchdog I spoke to today said this isn't a perfect bill, but it's a good first step. Here's what he said.
I believe these bills have a chance of passing, probably in early 2024. I think the next step is for the Senate to conform its bill more similarly to what the House just passed, and then send it to the president to be signed into law.
And notably here, this is really the first momentum we've seen on the House side, obviously controlled by Republicans, for a major Biden initiative, consumer protections that we heard him talk about, and we've junk fees and protections at his last State of the Union.
So bipartisan is the key here. I mean, that seems like it's going to be good for consumers. Any word on timing?
Yeah, so the hope is that this could get done early 2024. The sentiment here, of course, is that ticketing is broken. Democrats agree, Republicans agree, and that's what it kind of took to get all of these members on board. I mean, yes, as you said, it takes Taylor Swift to sometimes fix a problem, but Amy Klobuchar told me today that it's really an important issue to her in particular.
Now they can all sit in a room together and talk about immigration reform, and they maybe can talk about funding.
If Taylor Swift can fix all of these other things we're debating about, more power to her.
Nice to see you. Thank you so much for that. All right, let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about right now tonight. Number 1, Texas AG Ken Paxton is threatening to prosecute doctors who help a woman get an emergency abortion. Remember, a judge ruled in favor of 31-year-old mother of 2, Kate Cox, yesterday after doctors told her the fetus she is carrying has a fatal condition. Number 2, a salmonella outbreak from tainted cantaloupe has now killed 8 people in the U.S. and Canada. 8 people, according to officials there. More than 200 people across 38 states in the U.S. have become sick from the bad fruit, many of whom say they ate pre-cut cantaloupe. The CDC says to avoid the fruit if you don't know the source. Number 3, environmental watchdogs are accusing a Mexican startup of illegally selling a health drink made from an endangered fish to several countries, including the U.S. They say it violates international trade law and that the company, The Blue Formula, could also be selling fish that's illegally caught in the wild. The company hasn't responded to our request for comment. Number 4, a new CDC study says about 3 million Americans likely suffer from chronic fatigue syndrome. That number is higher than previous estimates, likely due to the impact of long COVID. Chronic fatigue is defined by at least 6 months of severe exhaustion that doesn't get better with sleep. Number 5, the International Olympic Committee says that some Russian and Belarusian athletes will be able to compete in the upcoming Olympics. They'll have to compete with a neutral flag and uniform, and each sport's officials will have to make sure none of the athletes have publicly supported Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Right, the walls appear to be closing in on the president of one of the most prominent universities in the country, a big donor threatening to withdraw $100 million in funding from the University of Pennsylvania if President Liz McGill is not ousted. The CEO of the financial firm Stone Ridge says the school's president has, quote, enabled and encouraged anti-Semitism. UPenn's endowment is something like $21 billion. And now the Wharton Business School Advisory Board is calling on her to step down, too. Now, remember, Penn's president and the presidents of MIT and Harvard all testified on Capitol Hill this week about anti-Semitism on college campuses. And we're just learning late today that more than 70 members of the House wrote a joint letter to the boards of all 3 of those universities calling for their presidents to be fired. George Solis is following all of this from Philadelphia and joins me now. George, what are people there telling you about what should come next year?
Hey, Christine. Yeah, the fallout keeps intensifying here, really snowballing, if you will, with that signing of the letter from those members of Congress. So far, Liz McGill remains in power. We have just learned that this weekend, the Board of Trustees will be meeting to decide her fate. No immediate calls for her to resign from the board. But again, this obviously comes with that news that that donor wants to rescind that $100 million donation. Keep in mind, this is someone who actually has a building named here on campus at the Wharton School of Business. So how all that will come into play. This was also coming after a protest here on campus yesterday from students and faculty outside of her office calling on her to resign after that grilling on Capitol Hill, where she was joined by the presidents of Harvard and MIT. Still, though, many people here on campus say they don't feel safe anymore, given that testimony, given that she was unable to denounce that call for genocide. Again, here's a little bit more of what students and faculty are telling us here.
She has not mentioned once the heartbreak that Palestine has been dealing with. So for that reason, it seems very one-sided.
It's kind of scary just like being here.
I think that she should resign. I feel very strongly about that. Yeah, there seems to be a little bit more pressure on McGill to resign as opposed to the other 2 university presidents. That's because a lot of students say a lot of this tension here on campus sort of predates even the October 7th attacks, saying there have been a number of incidents here of Islamophobia and anti-Semitic rhetoric that have gone unchecked. The testimony on Capitol Hill sort of solidifying of the belief from a lot of people here on campus that a call and a new leader is needed here.
So, George, what more do we know about this new letter that members of the House are sending to the boards at these 3 schools?
Yeah, this is sort of spearheaded by Congressman Stefanik, who was sort of the head of the grilling there during that exchange there with Liz McGill. And in short, basically saying that based on some of that testimony there on the Hill, that these 3 leaders of these prestigious institutions need to step down. Mind you, Liz McGill did issue an apology of sorts, basically backtracking some of her comments, saying that UPenn's policies need to be examined, as did the president of Harvard in a statement saying that calls for violence or genocide against the Jewish community or any religious or ethnic group are vile, also issuing an apology basically saying, I'm sorry for her comments, but many do feel that these statements are coming too little too late and should have been addressed on the Hill, Christine.
Yeah, George Solis, thank you so much for that. Keep us posted. right, coming up, the FDA approving the first gene editing treatment for sickle cell disease. We're talking about how the decision could change lives next. Plus, warnings tonight in Michigan about possible rabies exposure from a kind of unusual pet. More on that later in the local. Some exciting medical news. Today, the FDA just approved a first-of-its-kind treatment for sickle cell disease. It uses this gene editing tool called CRISPR to basically edit cells. Plus, it approved a second gene therapy treatment for this horrible, debilitating condition. Around 100,000 Americans have sickle cell disease, and it disproportionately affects people of African descent. But for some of those people, this new treatment could change everything. Here's NBC medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar.
Tonight, a groundbreaking approval. The FDA allowing new CRISPR gene editing technology to treat a devastating disease. The announcement, eagerly anticipated by researchers, doctors, and patients, many living in agony. Like Christopher Vega, his first memory, pain.
It sort of feels like glass running through your veins. With every heartbeat is a pulse of pain.
Diagnosed as a newborn with sickle cell disease, a debilitating illness that can cut life expectancy by 20 years. Symptoms include stroke, risk of infection, organ damage, and acute pain, aptly called pain crisis.
The more crisis that you have, the more damage it does to your body. I've had so many surgeries, and my joints were taking a hit from it majorly.
In patients like Chris with sickle cell disease, red blood cells, which are usually disc-shaped, take on a crescent or sickle shape. That can cause cells to clump together, leading to blockages, depleting certain organs of oxygen. Sickle cell disproportionately impacts Americans of African descent. One study showing Black people made up 93% of hospitalizations from 2016 to 2018. The only cure was a bone marrow transplant. Until now.
It's transformative.
Dr. Cecilia Calhoun is the medical director of Yale's Adult Sickle Cell Program.
The challenge with bone marrow transplant is that you really need somebody who's a good match to prevent untoward complications.
And only about 15% of people with sickle cell have a donor match.
What gene therapy offers is the opportunity for a patient to be their own match.
The drug edits DNA in a person's bone marrow stem cells. Those stem cells then produce healthy red blood cells.
That person no longer has a clinical picture of sickle cell disease.
Originally hesitant, Chris joined the clinical trial for Casgevy, the drug from Vertex Pharmaceuticals and CRISPR Therapeutics.
It was definitely like a roller coaster.
He had multiple blood transfusions. His stem cells were extracted and edited by CRISPR and finally injected back into his body after he received chemotherapy. It's the first approved treatment for any disease using the promising CRISPR technology. Experts worry the use of chemo in the treatment could increase the risk of infection and infertility, and also could be out of reach for those desperate for a cure. But for Chris, you can't put a cost on extending a life and ending the pain.
This gives the opportunity for any little boy or girl growing up with sickle cell to actually live a healthy, pain-free life.
How exciting. All right, Dr. Natalie Azar joins me now. So, doctor, this is incredible, right? But what we described was really only one of two drugs the FDA approved. Tell us about the other one. And also talk to me about the cost of these drugs. They're very high. Chris was in a study, but they're outside of that, I mean, very expensive, right?
They're super expensive, Christine. The price of these is probably going to run people about $2 million. It is very unclear at this point about how much commercial insurance could cover. Many of the patients who have sickle cell disease are covered by Medicaid. Medicaid certainly couldn't cover all of them. They would go bankrupt. But yes, as you mentioned, the one that's in the piece was CRISPR, and it's really groundbreaking because it is the first FDA-approved, treatment that uses this CRISPR technology. The other medication that was approved, though, also, Christine, really fantastic. It's also a cell-based gene therapy. It kind of tweaks the stem cells in a slightly different way. With CRISPR, you're getting what we call fetal hemoglobin. That's the hemoglobin that's produced by fetuses. And in the other treatment, Christine, you're basically instructing your stem cells to start making adult hemoglobin, which does not, in both cases, they don't sickle, and the patient is free of disease.
Amazing. Okay, so CRISPR is also so exciting because it's, I guess potentially it could be used not just for sickle cell, but for so many other diseases and conditions, right?
That's right. I mean, they're studying it in single gene disorders, for example, cystic fibrosis and hemophilia. The other medication, the non-CRISPR one, is already approved to treat certain rare neurological disorders and thalassemia. And they're even using and studying CRISPR to treat and prevent certain cancers, heart disease, HIV, mental illness. It really is like, you know, the sky is the limit in terms of this technology because it's so precise and they're targeting very specific sequences of DNA, editing, modifying, and reintroducing that into the individual to treat and cure their disease.
Kind of at the very first steps of a new frontier, really, for solving some of these problems. Dr. Azar, thank you so much. Nice to see you. Have a great weekend. All right, NBC covers, of course, hundreds of stories each day. And because it's tough to read, watch, or listen to all of them, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we like to call The Local. From our Northeast Bureau, a woman allegedly attacked 2 nurses and a doctor at a pediatric ICU at a New Jersey hospital. This is according to police. It apparently happened after an argument. Police say the woman is in custody and all 3 medical staffers are expected to be okay. Out of our Southern Bureau, Atlanta police say they arrested a woman for allegedly trying to burn down Martin Luther King Jr.'s birth home. You can see her in this video taken by witnesses. They stopped the 26-year-old after they saw her pouring gasoline around the property. According to officials, she is facing a couple of charges, including second-degree arson. And out of our Midwest Bureau, health officials in Michigan say skunks, I'm going to say this again, skunks purchased from certain breeders could have been exposed to rabies. At least one skunk tested positive for rabies, but officials don't know how or when the animal was infected. They are warning anyone in the area who bought a skunk in the last 6 months to get it tested. And if you're wondering, it's a thing. Owning a skunk is legal in Michigan, but only if you have a certain permit. Coming up, everything old is new again. Turns out that's the case for Abercrombie & Fitch. We're talking about the company's comeback and its kind of scandalous past. Next in tonight's original. All right, now we want to bring you to today's original with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been keeping an eye on. And if clothes are a big part of your holiday shopping list, you might be looking and saying, wait, what? Abercrombie? That's right. Abercrombie & Fitch is overcoming years of scandals and slumping sales and is again taking the fashion world by storm. Take a look.
They lined up and screamed, but the branded moose fell out of fashion. Now a surprising retail revival. Out with the shirtless models, in with the trendy basics.
I love the clothes.
Abercrombie & Fitch making a comeback, both on social media and in stores. Sales in the third quarter up 20% compared to last year, bringing in more than $1 billion. And the stock on a tear. Abercrombie skyrocketing more than 220% year to date, doing way better than the broader market and its competitors. For Gen Z, it's the hot new brand.
They have a lot of really good basics. I want it back in Canada.
For everyone else, it's the hot new rebrand. Abercrombie & Fitch has come in and out of popularity for decades, and not just for its clothes. Take it all the way back to 1892, when it was founded as a sporting goods retailer, carrying what it called high-quality camping, fishing, and hunting gear, dressing notable people like Presidents William Taft and Teddy Roosevelt. Fast forward to the late 1970s when the company filed for bankruptcy.
Now Abercrombie & Fitch is broke and going out of business.
Only for the store to gain popularity again a couple of decades later.
Rolling out more stores, more product lines.
In the 90s, new leadership meant new changes to casual luxury targeting teens.
Abercrombie & Fitch made its debut on Wall Street yesterday.
Military uniforms becoming all-American apparel. Guns hanging in stores replaced by these guns greeting shoppers. It was prepped Preppy meets sexy. Walk in the store and be hit with strong cologne, loud music, and a dark ambiance, perpetuating an unwelcoming environment for many.
It was more intimidating almost. Like you're like, I don't want to walk into there.
It attracted a certain type of customer, and if you weren't that, you didn't really get helped, to be honest.
And becoming a breeding ground for scandals. The company settled federal and class action lawsuits in 2003 after employees claimed the store refused to hire them on the basis of race, and lost a 2015 U.S. Supreme Court case where a teen faced discrimination for wearing a headscarf. Now allegations surfacing against former CEO Michael Jeffries, accused of sex abuse and trafficking. His attorney telling NBC News he would not comment on reports about his personal life. But the store still thriving despite its scandalous past.
I think they've done an excellent job of resetting that reputation and leaving that in the past while acknowledging that, the brand was clearly making some massive errors in judgment at that time.
The company shifting to trendy styles, more inclusive sizing, trying on a welcoming atmosphere.
For somebody doesn't have the best body or is not a model body, it's cool to see not to see that all the time.
The store's a lot brighter, it's happier.
Business intelligence company Morning Consult saying Abercrombie's brand favorability with Gen Z adults up nearly 8% in just a few months this year. But will the pendulum swing in its favor for years to come?
If Abercrombie can stay ahead of the trends with Gen Z while also connecting with older shoppers, bringing the millennials back into their stores, that's going to be really critical to see ongoing growth.
All right, Caleb Silver, my friend, joins us now to talk more about this. Who would have thought? I mean, we covered this story, the rise, the fall, and we all have teenagers. What's happening here?
This is a comeback, a Y2K style comeback. Abercrombie and Fitch is in this. Ralph Lauren a little bit, yep. Juicy Couture, even Carhartt, not just popular in the Quad Cities, popular with everyone these days. These older brands coming back to basics. Abercrombie and Fitch doing a nice job, doing a lot of it online with influencers, too.
It's interesting how that name has changed over the 100 and some years, from hunting goods to, then the shirtless model guys and the weird atmosphere, and then now back to basics. It's been an interesting evolution, but the name has stayed the same.
Absolutely, and the name is more than a century old.
Right.
Ernest Hemingway was wearing that stuff, too. So it's an important brand. It has been through a lot, as you say, but it's used social media. It's used making their clothes a little bit cheaper, making them more accessible, no more of those oversized hoodies and the low-rise jeans. It's across the boards right now, and look at that stock price, up 230%.
What does it say, I think, about the consumer right now? I mean, I think when you look at the consumer of the last year and a half, we've been saying, oh, no, they're going to start pulling back. But if they want something and it resonates with them, or they're deep enough discounts, the consumer is still humming here.
Absolutely. Price sensitive. We're spending more on experiences, but apparel is actually going to be big again this year. Those that are spending plan to spend more on apparel, toys even below that. So apparel spending's back a little bit. Experiences go with that. Abercrombie and Fitch has done a nice job of saying, we're here for the affordable, all-fashion customer, and they're doing really well.
People keep counting out the American consumer, but that has been the wrong bet to have this past year. What do you think changes into 2024 for American spending patterns? Or, I mean, economists have just been dead wrong about the consumer for more than a year.
Yeah, we've been spending ourselves silly. We have over $1 trillion in credit card
Retail
debt.
therapy, maybe.
Retail therapy, a lot of spending $6,500 per credit card borrower in debt right now, but we are going to get lower interest rates probably next year. That's going to be some relief, both for credit card APRs, but also mortgages and everything else. Hopefully the consumer is resilient because we need consumer spending 70% of U.S. GDP.
This is where both of us remind you in a very boring way that all of that credit card debt at 20% interest is such dumb debt. That's the first thing to do is get rid of high interest credit card debt, especially at a time like this.
Absolutely.
All right, Caleb Silver, nice to see you. Thank you. We're coming on the air as just late this afternoon, the U.S. vetoed a UN Security Council resolution demanding a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war, as more alarm bells are being sounded about the humanitarian crisis with Israel moving further into Gaza. Hallie will join us live from Israel in just a moment. Also, rain, snow, and high winds expected to sweep through the country this weekend. We'll tell you what areas could see potentially dangerous weather. Plus, Hunter Biden facing new criminal charges tonight with allegations that he spent money on pretty much everything except paying his taxes. The next steps in the legal fight and the possible political costs for his father, the president. And the FDA approving a groundbreaking potential new cure for sickle cell anemia. Patients are breathing a sigh of relief, but will they be able to afford this cutting-edge treatment? Plus, you know the sort of nightmare you have to go through when you buy tickets to a show or sporting event. Some senators are getting together today to try to help. We'll tell you their plan to make tickets cheaper and easier to get. Hello, I'm Christine Romans in for Hallie. And late today, the United States blocked a key resolution of the United Nations for immediate humanitarian ceasefire, saying it would only benefit Hamas as Israel keeps pushing the war deeper into Gaza. We're hearing dire new warnings about the humanitarian crisis that seems to be getting worse for people in Gaza every day. Thousands now fleeing to the southern border city Rafah, where there's reportedly no space left for people to shelter, with no food. Electricity and water are running out, too. We're seeing a new international push to protect civilians. A top leader at the UN putting out a new letter saying his staff inside Gaza can barely operate, with more than 100 of them, his own staff, already killed in this war, and predicting more of them are going to die.
Some of our staff take their children to work so they know they will live or die together.
Let's bring in Hallie Jackson in Tel Aviv. That soundbite is just horrific to think of the decisions that these folks are having to make. A top UN leader saying that Gaza is reaching a point of no return. What more do we know about what it's like in Gaza right now? And importantly, if more aid is going to get in there, Hallie?
That's right. Two really good questions, Christine. It's good to see you tonight. What it's like in Gaza on the brink of collapse, according to what we're hearing from one of these top UN leaders, from others in the region, from people who have gone in to see it for themselves, sounding the alarm, essentially, that people are starving. There are families who have gone, according to the World Food Program, something like 1 in every 3 days over the past month without anything to eat at all. I mean, that is the situation that is happening on the ground there. That is why, that dire reality, that is why you're seeing what's unfolding at the UN, or what has unfolded at the United Nations Security Council, this call for an immediate ceasefire to try to pause the fighting, to try to get more aid in. The United States, as it's consistent with its position, blocked that, vetoed that, used its veto power to stop that, with the U.S. Representative saying, listen, this will only plant the seeds for more war, essentially. And so that is the crux of what the issue is here. Israel continuing to, as it sees it, defend itself after that Hamas terror attack on October 7th. But the reality on the ground inside Gaza is that there are people who are in the south now, because that is where Israel told them to get to for their safety, as Israel is now pummeling both the north and the south. We have seen this consistently, Christine, even today in Tel Aviv. Again, a couple of sirens going off. We've heard some of those explosions with the intercepts overhead. I mean, the fighting is still very active here. We're seeing some new images now released by the Israeli military. NBC News has not verified, of going in the north. They are going in the south. People collecting at these camps, essentially, looking to try to figure out a way to survive at this point. I want to play for you what one Palestinian teenager is telling our team, is saying about her reality with more than a dozen family members killed in this violence so far. Listen.
We wanted to say goodbye to my uncle and his family when they wanted to leave. My cousin went to pray the afternoon prayer around 4 o'clock. Then the explosion occurred while we were sitting, and as a result of the explosion, we were pushed back from the force of the missile. I found myself and my sisters covered in stones and smoke filling the place.
And that is the reality for her. There are also, of course, Israelis who are desperate, family members of people who were taken hostage, who were abducted by these Hamas terrorists, who want nothing more than to have them home with them. Now at Hanukkah here in Israel, you are seeing Israel, the military, it says, going in, conducting a new operation now to try to rescue some of those hostages. Hamas claims that during that operation, 1 hostage was killed. The Israeli military says 2 of its soldiers were seriously hurt. This is what is unfolding day after day here, as Israel says it is now bringing back for interrogation dozens of suspects as well. This is what's happening here, Christine.
And Hallie, we're now 2 months into this war. What more do we know about where fighting could go next?
Well, we're looking to a couple of places here, as we have now for the course of the last 8 weeks. The West Bank, for example, because we've already seen, according to the Israeli military, 1 soldier hurt there. We know that even today, the military says it has exchanged fire to the north with Hezbollah in Lebanese territory. The risk all along here, ever since this war began, was that it could explode into some sort of broader conflagration. It is a tinderbox here already. And so that is why you have seen previously to this, a diplomatic scramble to try to tamp down tensions to the degree that that is possible here. We obviously saw the course over the last 2 weeks, 6 days or so, that ceasefire, that temporary pause in fighting for that remarkable and extraordinary hostage release, essentially. But that has stopped. And so at this moment, it feels, I think, to so many people in the region, intractable now as this war continues.
Hallie Jackson, good to see you tonight. Thank you so much. Stay safe. All right, back here at home, the man now facing federal charges in connection with shots fired outside a synagogue in Albany, New York, appearing in court for the first time in just the last couple of hours after he was arrested and charged with possession of a firearm by a prohibited person. No one was hurt in the incident that took place just before the start of Hanukkah. New York Governor Kathy Hochul believed to be attending services there right now. Emily Akeda following all of this and joins me now. What more can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so that is happening right now. Governor Hochul is attending services at where the shooting had happened, just outside, I should say. And now the man that police believe is responsible for causing this wave of fear over worshipers at Temple Israel is behind bars after his first court appearance today. His name, Mufid Al-Qadr. He's a 28-year-old man, Iraqi-born, also U.S. citizen, and we're told that he's a local to the area. He appeared in federal court, and he's now facing a federal charge of unlawfully possessing a firearm as an unlawful user of a controlled substance. He told investigators that he regularly used marijuana. He also told them that he was impacted by the events of what's happening in the Middle East. And this court appearance coming less than 24 hours after police say he fired 2 rounds from his shotgun into the sky. Keep in mind, 2 dozen preschoolers inside that building. So just a terrifying, you can imagine, especially for the parents. The director of that early childhood center called 911. Police arrived quickly. He had already put the gun down. They took him into custody. But again, he will be detained pending trial.
So zoom out. You've got not just this synagogue in Albany, but people are on edge around the country here.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if you look at this one location, for instance, this is part of a bigger trend. The Temple Israel had just a few months ago in September faced a bomb threat. So if you look at the numbers, it shows in November in the state of New York, hate crimes across the board, they were up 90% compared to the year before. If you look specifically at online anti-Semitic threats, they saw nearly 25,000. So just some pretty stunning numbers. We heard from someone who attends Temple Israel. Here's what he had to say.
Now we're seeing daily reports of violent incidents and actions against Jews in their persons, in their places of worship, and where they work. That's profoundly frightening.
So in light of this latest shooting, Governor Hochul is directing additional state resources to ramp up security at-risk sites like synagogues and temples throughout the state.
All right, Emily Akeda, thank you so much. All right, just in the last couple of hours, a Michigan teenager who killed 4 of his fellow classmates and hurt 7 more. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. That sentence coming down after 31 impact statements from victims, their families, their friends, all expressing the hurt the gunman caused them. Listen.
Our family has a permanent hole in it. It can never be fixed, ever.
To the waste that took my daughter's life, that name will never come out of my mouth.
There can be no forgiveness. There can be no rehabilitation.
Ethan Crumbly was 15 when he opened fire at Oxford High School just over 2 years ago, cutting short the lives of his classmates, Hannah St. Juliana, Tate Meyer, Madison Baldwin, Justin Schilling. Prosecutors say Crumbly used a handgun that they say his parents gave him as a gift. The parents are now facing involuntary manslaughter charges because police say they just ignored warning signs about their son's mental health. Maggie Vespa joins us now. I can't imagine how emotional it must have been inside that courtroom. Take us in there. What else do we see in here?
Yeah, Christine, that was just a snapshot, a poignant one, albeit, but a snapshot that you played there. I mean, this was a long day. As you said, 31 victims giving impact statements ranging from parents and siblings of the 4 students who were killed to students who themselves were shot, detailing the injuries and what life has been like since, to others, students and staff who were cowering in the building and trying to get a hold of their families, telling them there's a shooter in the building, telling them they love them. We heard it all trial today. And basically the point of this was those victims, we heard time and time again, were pleading with this judge in Michigan to give now 17-year-old Ethan Crumbley the state's harshest possible sentence, which is life without the possibility of parole. And the judge did that and then some, actually issuing 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. One of them for a count of terrorism causing death, which Crumbley pleaded guilty to. It pleaded guilty to all of these. And then the remaining 4, for each of the 4 counts of first-degree murder tied to the 4 victims who died that day. Here, just to kind of help you wrap your arms around how emotional this was, here's some more of what we heard in court for several hours today. Take a listen.
I want the person who did this to know that Madison would have been your friend. I want you to know that she would have treated you with nothing but kindness had you not killed her. I'm not sure how much emotion you're capable of feeling, but I hope you regret it. And I hope it eats away at you.
So many tears today. And also, Christine, multiple minors who spoke. The judge directing cameras to point elsewhere. We weren't supposed to show their faces. We're not going to. They were allowed to name themselves if they want. But basically, the judge doing everything he could to give anyone who wanted it a platform to kind of just detail their pain before handing down that sentence, Christine.
Just awful. And now next year, we're going to see the shooter's parents go on trial for allegedly providing him the weapon that he used in that shooting. What do prosecutors hope to prove there in a rare instance where someone other than the shooter is brought to trial for their involvement in a mass murder?
Right. This is such a rare hallmark of this case. As you point out, you just saw them there, Jennifer and James Crumbley, the parents of Ethan Crumbley. As you said, they're facing involuntary manslaughter charges, 4 each, 1 for each of the 4 killed. Because, again, as you said, prosecutors say they got their son, they bought their son a gun as an early Christmas present, despite what prosecutors say were clear signs that he was grappling with severe mental health issues, including depression, and he had written in his diary. Prosecutors haven't said that the parents had read these writings, but he wrote, and it's since been entered into evidence, that he wanted to commit the largest mass shooting in Michigan's history. So they are now trying to hold these parents criminally responsible for this shooting that played out and terrorized this community. As you said, we're expecting that trial to begin next month, as early as next month. Both parents have pleaded not guilty. They'll hold separate trials, and we reached out to their attorneys today. But it's important to note the judge has issued a gag order in that case. So as expected, we did not hear from them. Also, one more final important note. The parents were not allowed to be in court today to watch their son receive this sentence. Christine.
All right, Maggie Vespa, thank you so much for that. All right, just in the last few moments, President Biden speaking at an event in Las Vegas just a couple of days after a gunman killed 3 people on the campus of the University of Nevada in that city. Let's listen.
Folks, we got to get smart. There have been over 600 mass shootings in America this year alone, plus daily acts of gun violence that don't even make the national news. This is not normal, and we can never let it become normal.
The Biden administration said the president also plans to meet with the head of the university and with student leaders on this trip so he can express his condolences. All right, tonight, a major cross-country storm is marching east, millions facing the risk of damaging winds, hail, possibly some tornadoes. The storm's moving through the Rocky Mountains and out into the plains and dropping some snow along the way there. Winter advisories in effect for parts of the Northwest, where over a foot of snow could fall through tonight. And it's also forecast to see more of that pouring rain that's been overflowing rivers there this week. The rest of the country also bracing for a wet, windy weekend. It really ramps up tomorrow. I want to bring in meteorologist Bill Cairns now. Bring us the bad news, Bill.
Yeah, it's a timing of when the bad news is going to be with you and in your area, because it's not going to hit everyone. So the biggest thing is, obviously, if we get any tornadoes, we want everyone to know who has at least a shot of that. And that's going to be from Little Rock to Alexandria. This will be Saturday afternoon into the early evening. Northern half of Mississippi, including Tupelo, from Memphis up to Nashville, and maybe a little sliver here from Bowling Green southwards. That's the area that has the best chance of seeing severe thunderstorms, isolated tornadoes, some large hail, and obviously some wind damage concerns, too. And then this just happened. We did now under 40 million people, mostly because it includes all of Philadelphia and the New York City area, are under flood watches. This will be for Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening into Monday morning, and it will likely be extended here to Boston and maybe even in Maine as we go throughout the weekend. So here it is in a nutshell. Here's the big picture. So this is on Saturday. There is some snow on the backside, but for December, not a lot. From Minneapolis northwards, northern Wisconsin. There's the severe storms we talked about. Going to have some areas of heavy rain through the Ohio Valley on Saturday. And here comes that next storm to the Pacific Northwest. So you're not done. California, you miss it, but it's northern Oregon and also Washington State. And then by the time we get to Sunday, this is just a mess on the East Coast. Windswept rain. It's going to be warm. It's going to be raining. It's going to pour. Cold front goes through. The backside of it will get chillier and a little brisk with a little bit of snow, but nothing too horrible snow-wise. This is mostly almost like a spring storm.
You call it twig season? I mean, it's going to be...
You like that, didn't you?
I like
See?
it. I like that. I'm going to keep that one. But we're talking about rain here more than snow. The calendar says it's December. What's happening here?
Things are just way too warm. I mean, we're just watching. I mean, this is the highs tomorrow. 63 Cincinnati, 57 Baltimore. Raleigh could be near 70 degrees tomorrow. And so it doesn't feel like December or pre-Christmas holiday season either. D.C. is going to be 67 on Sunday with that rain, and even northern New England. So a horrible Sunday for all the snow lovers, the ski resorts, anything winter. It's yuck.
Twig season, tree debris.
Yeah, you want the trees looking pretty with the snow on them. You know, twigs is just...
It won't. All right, Bill Cairns, thanks so much. Nice to see you. All right, Hunter Biden tonight preparing to face new criminal charges related to his taxes, the latest result of a special counsel investigation into the president's son. The indictment sparing no detail about Hunter Biden's publicly known struggles and his lavish lifestyle, describing money spent on drugs, escorts, girlfriends, luxury hotels, exotic cars, summing up his expenses as, quote, everything but his taxes. The 9-count indictment out of California, including 3 felonies and potentially 17 years behind bars, comes just a few months after he was hit with separate firearm charges across the country in Delaware. Let's bring in our team covering this. NBC's Tom Winter and Ryan Nobles is on Capitol Hill. Tom, I want to start with you. Break down how this indictment portrays Hunter's personal life and his personal struggles, all resulting in these tax crimes.
Well, Christine, it's acutely focused on it. I mean, they would even pull passages from his book and his memoirs about his personal struggles with addiction, struggles that he says he's overcome and that he is now sober. But it does focus on a period of his life that was very much in tumult and a very difficult time for him, particularly what he was spending on women, on what he was spending on adult entertainment. We're looking at some of this now. Pretty significant figures here, over $680,000 in payments to various women. And the reason why the special counsel's office says in their indictment that they include this in here is they say, look, if you focus on what he was spending versus what he owed the United States government in taxes, they say it's clear that he could have paid his taxes if, in fact, he had shifted his spending priorities. And that's one of the things that they key in on in this indictment today, not just failure to file, but that he also made some willful errors and violations of law when he did file those tax returns.
You know, in a statement, Hunter Biden's lawyer said if his client's, quote, last name was anything other than Biden, then these charges never would have been brought. But look at what he's accused of and just the quantity of the dollars here. Is there any merit to that statement?
Well, it is very rare for tax cases to go the criminal route. Most times they are solved on the civil side. That's just the statistics. As far as whether or not Hunter Biden was specifically targeted here or not, you know, when you talk to the people that opened this investigation, particularly IRS whistleblower Joseph Ziegler, he has said, and he's testified to Congress, that the investigation was opened out of a separate case. Nobody directed him to look into Hunter Biden. And it's one of the complaints that he's brought, Christine, to Congress in asking, in telling them, hey, there are some problems with this investigation. You should look into it. We talked with him a couple of weeks ago. Let's take a listen.
We've brought forward facts of what happened over my 5+ year investigation into the president's son. There were leads that we didn't follow. There was evidence that we didn't follow. There were things that we didn't do in those 5 years that were essentially halted from the prosecutors.
The special counsel's office in a statement last night says that the investigation remains ongoing, so we don't know if any of those avenues are in fact going to be gone down by the current investigators on the case. It's something obviously, Christine, will closely follow.
Right. All right, Tom Winter, thank you so much. So, Ryan Nobles, let's get to you now. You know, House Republicans are planning an impeachment inquiry, an authorization vote for next week, focused on the Biden family's business dealings. They look at all those numbers and say, where's that money coming from and what was happening with this family? Does this indictment help their case against the president?
Well, it does allow them political cover, I guess, Christine. And what impeachment is a political exercise, not a legal one. And to be clear, Joe Biden's name is not mentioned. There's not even any allusion to him at all in this 56-page indictment against his son. But that's not stopping House Republicans from trying to link the two together and their belief that that means they should continue to investigate whether or not any of Hunter Biden's wrongdoing extends to his father. This is what the chairman of the Oversight Committee, James Comer, said in a statement today. He said, unless U.S. Attorney Weiss investigates everyone involved in Biden's fraud schemes and influence peddling, it will be clear that President Biden's DOJ is protecting Hunter Biden and the big guy. The big guy, of course, a reference to a text message between Hunter Biden and a business associate that Republicans believe alludes to the president, although they don't have any specific evidence of that. And the Ways and Means chairman, Jason Smith, of course, Ways and Means is the tax writing committee, so taxes are under his purview. It's the whistleblowers that Tom alluded to that came before the Ways and Means Committee. And Jason Smith said that these charges further confirm the need for Congress to move forward with an impeachment inquiry of Joe Biden in order to uncover all the facts for the American people to judge. And when we talk about the politics of this, Christine, a couple of months ago, when then House Speaker Kevin McCarthy launched the impeachment inquiry, it was because he didn't have the votes to put it on the floor. He did it without the protection of a vote. Now they've reached the stage where they think they have the votes, and that's going to allow them to enforce subpoenas like the one they have of Hunter Biden. They're now going to be able to have the votes, I think, in part because this indictment provides the cover for some moderate Republicans that are in districts won by President Biden to say, look at all this evidence. We need to look into it even more. Christine?
All right, Ryan Nobles, nice to see you, my friend. Thanks so much. All right, markets closing up after new numbers out today showed a surprisingly strong and resilient job market. The S&P 500 closing at a new high for the year, and the Dow up 130 points after the economy added nearly 200,000 jobs and the unemployment rate fell a little bit, beating expectations on both fronts. These numbers a good sign for the Federal Reserve's biggest goal here, that elusive soft landing where inflation comes down from those stubborn highs without tipping the country into a recession and crashing the job market in the process. You can see here a few sectors that had some big gains, including healthcare, hospitality, manufacturing. The new data come in just days before the Federal Reserve's next meeting, where interest rates, the Fed's main tool in that soft landing, will be top of mind. NBC's Brian Chung is over at the big board for us. Brian, these numbers, these are the last ones we'll get before the new year. You know, I think we started this year, everyone said this 2023 was going to be the year of recession. It's the year of the resilient job market, and it's finishing just quite strong.
Yeah, Christine, the expectation was that this landing was going to have a lot of bumps and turbulence, but it appears to be smooth, at least so far, with the initial descent. And when we talk about the non-farm payroll gains, as you mentioned, 199,000 jobs added in the month of November, a faster pace than we saw in October. But again, that unemployment rate of 3.7%, that's the 22nd consecutive month that we've seen an unemployment rate below 4%. We highlight some of the industries that have seen a lot of the gains: leisure and hospitality, healthcare going gangbusters in the month, motor vehicles and parts also adding jobs because of the reversal of the UAW strike, which was resolved between this report and the report prior. But of course, the one thing that the Federal Reserve is looking at is wage gains. We've seen the pace of wage gains on a yearly basis, 4%. November this year to November last year, a bit of a slower pace from the 4.1%, but more importantly, and this is a trend we only started to see in the summer, this is above the pace of inflation, 3.2%. That's certainly good news for the Americans that, for the most part, post-pandemic, have had their wages eroded by inflation, Christine.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I think so many of the polls about how people feel are bad, because for much of this past period, inflation has been growing faster than wages. But we got some numbers today, too, news on consumer sentiment that show that maybe people aren't feeling so terrible after all. What do those show us?
Yeah, well, University of Michigan printing out their new reading on how consumers are feeling about the economy, and it seems to show some optimism about where they feel their wallet is at this point in time. So when you take a look at the figures, again, from the University of Michigan, you can see that the figures did show a 69.4. This is their measure preliminary in terms of how they're feeling. That's above 62, which shows, okay, well, they feel a little bit better. And what's important, too, is year-ahead inflation expectations. People don't expect prices to rise as much as they did the last time the University of Michigan did this reading. It fell to 3.1%, which is the lowest since 2021. And interestingly, we do have to just kind of add the caveat here. Inflation expectations usually tend to track gas prices very closely. So perhaps they're looking at the pump and going, well, maybe this means everything else is going to go down as well, which could be ill-advised in some cases. No slight to the University of Michigan there.
It is funny how that weekly gas price is something that's just a real fuel indicator for so many people. Brian Chung, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Coming up, new details tonight after officials say 2 babies got infected with dangerous bacteria sometimes found in formula. More on that next. Plus, the University of Pennsylvania president facing more calls to resign. We're live on campus there with how students are responding. Tonight, ask and ye shall receive. Some big leaders in Washington clearly paying attention to that Ticketmaster fiasco last year. Remember when Taylor Swift announced her massive hit Eras Tour? So 6 senators from both sides of the aisle are introducing a new bill today called the Fans First Act. Bipartisan. The Bipartisan Act aims to protect buyers from inflated ticket prices on existing live event ticketing systems that a lot of us have come to know. They're also focused on building accountability measures for bad actors. Here's what Senator Amy Klobuchar told us today on her hopes for the bill.
I think the fact that we have this strong bipartisan group of senators is a sign we're going to be able to pass it. When you look at the Live Nation Ticketmaster merger that should never have occurred, I think that should be broken up. I can't do that in a bill with a whole bunch of Republicans right now. I have to be very practical about how I get this done.
And remember the heated situation with online ticket sellers, mainly with Ticketmaster, which is by far the largest retailer. It reached a boiling point in 2022 when demand to see Taylor Swift's and Beyonce's tours crashed the site and sent prices soaring. Remember? Noah Pransky joins me now. Only Taylor Swift could bring bipartisanship in Washington, D.C., right?
That's what it'll take.
What does this bill do, and what sort of a change might it have for the industry?
Yeah, we're talking about some historic momentum here on the consumer front because this bill, the House has their own bills, but the Senate bill, really, they're proposing a couple things here. One is major transparency initiatives, both in the prices you see and also where the tickets are coming from. The price you see, according to this bill, would be the price you actually pay upon checkout. Imagine that. It would also ban speculative ticketing, which is when someone is selling a ticket they don't actually have. It often
happens?
Yeah, it can really hurt the consumer for obvious reasons. The other thing here, it would guarantee refunds if the event is canceled, which, believe it or not, that doesn't happen all the time either right now. So the good news, again, not just good steps forward for the consumer, but it is a bipartisan initiative. We have Amy Klobuchar, the Democrat from Minnesota, teaming up with John Cornyn, Republican from Texas, along with a few of their other colleagues. You can see them here. These are your leads on this effort in the Senate. We also have it happening in the House. Everything's moving forward, and a watchdog I spoke to today said this isn't a perfect bill, but it's a good first step. Here's what he said.
I believe these bills have a chance of passing, probably in early 2024. I think the next step is for the Senate to conform its bill more similarly to what the House just passed, and then send it to the president to be signed into law.
And notably here, this is really the first momentum we've seen on the House side, obviously controlled by Republicans, for a major Biden initiative, consumer protections that we heard him talk about, and we've junk fees and protections at his last State of the Union.
So bipartisan is the key here. I mean, that seems like it's going to be good for consumers. Any word on timing?
So the hope is that this could get done early 2024. The sentiment here, of course, is that ticketing is broken. Democrats agree, Republicans agree, and that's what it kind of took to get all of these members on board. I mean, yes, as you said, it takes Taylor Swift to sometimes fix a problem, but Amy Klobuchar told me today that it's really an important issue to her in particular.
Now they can all sit in a room together and talk about immigration reform, and they maybe can talk about funding
if Taylor Swift can fix all of these other things we're debating about, more power to her.
Nice to see you. Thank you so much for that. All right, the walls appear to be closing in on the president of one of the most prominent universities in this country. A big donor is threatening to withdraw $100 million in funding from the University of Pennsylvania if President Liz Magill is not ousted. The CEO of the financial firm Stone Ridge says the school's president has, quote, enabled and encouraged anti-Semitism. UPenn's endowment, by the way, is something like $21 billion. And now the Wharton Business School Advisory Board is calling on her to step down, too. Remember, Penn's president and the presidents of MIT and Harvard, they all testified on Capitol Hill this week about anti-Semitism on college campuses. And we're just learning late today that more than 70 members of the House wrote a joint letter to the boards of all 3 universities calling for their presidents to be fired. George Solis is following all of this from Philadelphia and joins me now. George, what are people there telling you about what should come next here?
Yeah, hey, Christine, the scrutiny continues growing, as we saw with that letter, and more calls for the heads of all of these three prestigious universities to step down. Here at UPenn specifically, well, students, they say they have had enough. This has to do not just with what happened on the Hill, but with some of the events leading up and before October 7th's attacks. They say the calls for anti-Semitism and Islamophobia here on campus have gone unchecked by leadership, and what happened there on the Hill sort of solidifies that. Mind you, Liz McGill did walk back some of her comments in a video statement that she posted on social media saying that they will review Penn's policies here, but many feel that the damage has been done. And so what we saw was a number of students and faculty protesting outside of her office, calling for her to step down. And as you mentioned, there's now some financial implications with a donor saying he's going to withdraw a $100 million donation from the university if McGill does not resign. Here's some more reaction from the students that we heard from.
She has not mentioned once the heartbreak that Palestine has been dealing with. So for that reason, it seems very one-sided.
It's kind of scary just like being here.
I think that she should resign. I feel very strongly about that. Yeah, Pennsylvania's governor also weighing in. We're actually now learning that this Sunday the Board of Trustees is expected to meet to decide President McGill's fate.
And George, what more do we know about that new letter that members of the House are sending to the boards at these three prestigious schools?
Yeah, so this is a bipartisan letter. 70 members of the House basically saying that after that testimony on Capitol Hill, that all three of these leaders really need to be re-examined and whether or not they need to be in positions of power as these calls and anti-Semitic events are occurring more and more with more frequency. And we also today heard from the president of Harvard, who basically came out and apologized for the sentiment, saying, quote, "I was caught up in a volley of the questions from Representative Elise Stefanik, and she should have basically said that she condemns the questions of genocide, but many do feel that all of this is now coming too little, too late after that testimony on Capitol Hill."
George Solis, thank you so much for that. Keep us posted. Well, let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, Texas AG Ken Paxton threatening to prosecute doctors who help a woman get an emergency abortion. Remember, a judge ruled in favor of 31-year-old mother of 2, Kate Cox, yesterday after doctors told her the fetus she is carrying has a fatal condition. Number 2, one baby died, another suffered brain damage from a bacteria sometimes found in baby formula. Federal health officials confirmed the babies consumed powdered infant formula made by Abbott Nutrition. It's the same company that was at the center of a formula crisis last year. Bacteria is found naturally in the environment, and FDA officials say there's no evidence that the infections were linked to manufacturing. There's no reason for recalls now, they say. Abbott officials also say there's no evidence that its plants or any contamination at those plants caused the illnesses. Number 3, actor Ryan O'Neal died at the age of 82 today, according to his son. He starred in classic films like Love Story, Paper Moon, and Barry Lyndon. Before his Hollywood career, he was a teen idol as the star of the 60s television shows Peyton Place and Leave It to Beaver. Number 4, the International Olympic Committee says that some Russian and Belarusian athletes will be able to compete in the upcoming Olympics. They'll have to compete with a neutral flag, a neutral uniform, and each sports officials will have to make sure that none of the athletes have publicly supported Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Number 5, check out this video of a bear in Florida just totally trashing one family's Christmas decorations. Yep, you can see it sort of knock over some of these reindeer. And then, get this, drag one of them into the woods. Yeah, you can assume it got a pretty big surprise when it tried to bite into its deer. Not exactly what it was expecting. When we come back, the FDA approving the first gene editing treatment for sickle cell disease. We're talking about how this decision could change lives next. Plus, Russian President Vladimir Putin revealing whether he plans to run for re-election. That's later in the Global. Today, the FDA just approved a first-of-its-kind treatment for sickle cell disease. It uses this gene editing tool called CRISPR to basically edit cells. Plus, it approved a second gene therapy treatment for this horrible, debilitating condition. Around 100,000 Americans have sickle cell disease, and it disproportionately affects people of African descent. But for some of those people, this new treatment could change everything. Here's NBC medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar.
Tonight, a groundbreaking approval. The FDA allowing new CRISPR gene editing technology to treat a devastating disease. The announcement, eagerly anticipated by researchers, doctors, and patients, many living in agony. Like Christopher Vega, his first memory, pain.
It sort of feels like glass running through your veins. With every heartbeat is a pulse of pain.
Diagnosed as a newborn with sickle cell disease, a debilitating illness that can cut life expectancy by 20 years. Symptoms include stroke, risk of infection, organ damage, and acute pain, aptly called pain crisis.
The more crisis that you have, the more damage it does to your body. I've had so many surgeries, and my joints were taking a hit from it majorly.
In patients like Chris with sickle cell disease, red blood cells, which are usually disc-shaped, take on a crescent or sickle shape. That can cause cells to clump together, leading to blockages, depleting certain organs of oxygen. Sickle cell disproportionately impacts Americans of African descent. One study showing Black people made up 93% of hospitalizations from 2016 to 2018. The only cure was a bone marrow transplant. Until now.
It's transformative.
Dr. Cecilia Calhoun is the medical director of Yale's Adult Sickle Cell Program.
The challenge with bone marrow transplant is that you really need somebody who's a good match to prevent untoward complications.
And only about 15% of people with sickle cell have a donor match.
What gene therapy offers is the opportunity for a patient to be their own match.
The drug edits DNA in a person's bone marrow stem cells. Those stem cells then produce healthy red blood cells.
That person no longer has a clinical picture of sickle cell disease.
Originally hesitant, Chris joined the clinical trial for Casgevy, the drug from Vertex Pharmaceuticals and CRISPR Therapeutics.
It was definitely like a roller coaster.
He had multiple blood transfusions. His stem cells were extracted and edited by CRISPR and finally injected back into his body after he received chemotherapy. It's the first approved treatment for any disease using the promising CRISPR technology. Experts worry the use of chemo in the treatment could increase the risk of infection and infertility, and also could be out of reach for those desperate for a cure. But for Chris, you can't put a cost on extending a life and ending the pain.
This gives the opportunity for any little boy or girl growing up with sickle cell to actually live a healthy, pain-free life.
How exciting. All right, Dr. Natalie Azar joins me now. So, doctor, this is incredible, right? But what we described was really only one of two drugs the FDA approved. Tell us about the other one. And also talk to me about the cost of these drugs. They're very high. Chris was in a study, but they're outside of that, I mean, very expensive, right?
They're super expensive, Christine. The price of these is probably going to run people about $2 million. It is very unclear at this point about how much commercial insurance could cover. Many of the patients who have sickle cell disease are covered by Medicaid. Medicaid certainly couldn't cover all of them. They would go bankrupt. But yes, as you mentioned, the one that's in the piece was CRISPR, and it's really groundbreaking because it is the first FDA-approved, treatment that uses this CRISPR technology. The other medication that was approved, though, also, Christine, really fantastic. It's also a cell-based gene therapy. It kind of tweaks the stem cells in a slightly different way. With CRISPR, you're getting what we call fetal hemoglobin. That's the hemoglobin that's produced by fetuses. And in the other treatment, Christine, you're basically instructing your stem cells to start making adult hemoglobin, which does not, in both cases, they don't sickle, and the patient is free of disease.
Amazing. Okay, so CRISPR is also so exciting because it's, I guess, potentially it could be used not just for sickle cell, but for so many other diseases and conditions, right?
That's right. I mean, they're studying it in single gene disorders, for example, cystic fibrosis and hemophilia. The other medication, the non-CRISPR one, is already approved to treat certain rare neurological disorders and thalassemia. And they're even using and studying CRISPR to treat and prevent certain cancers, heart disease, HIV, mental illness. It really is like, you know, the sky is the limit in terms of this technology because it's so precise and they're targeting very specific sequences of DNA, editing, modifying, and reintroducing that into the individual to treat and cure their disease.
Kind of at the very first steps of a new frontier, really, for solving some of these problems. Dr. Azar, thank you so much. Nice to see you. Have a great weekend. All right, NBC covers hundreds of international stories each day. Because it's tough to read, watch, or listen to all of them, our international teams have done it for you. Here are some things they're keeping an eye on in a segment we call The Global. In Ireland, thousands of people lined the streets of Dublin to honor Shane MacGowan, frontman of the Pogues, who died last week. A horse-drawn carriage took his casket through that city ahead of his funeral, which the president of Ireland attended. Out of Russia, President Vladimir Putin says he plans to run again in the country's election in March. He has been in power since 1999 as either president or prime minister. If elected, which is all but guaranteed in Russia, he'll serve another 6-year term. And in France, President Emmanuel Macron visited Notre Dame Cathedral today and pledged that that historic site will reopen a year from now. He went to the top of the new spire, which has been rebuilt since it crashed through the cathedral's roof during that, remember that massive fire more than 4 years ago now. All right, coming up, everything old is new again. Turns out that's the case for Abercrombie & Fitch. We're talking about the company's comeback and its kind of scandalous past next in tonight's original. All right, now we want to bring you to today's original with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been keeping an eye on. And if clothes are a big part of your holiday shopping list, you might be looking and saying, wait, what? Abercrombie? That's right. Abercrombie & Fitch is overcoming years of scandals and slumping sales and is again taking the fashion world by storm. Take a look.
They lined up and screamed, but the branded moose fell out of fashion. Now a surprising retail revival. Out with the shirtless models, in with the trendy basics.
I love the clothes.
Abercrombie & Fitch making a comeback, both on social media and in stores. Sales in the third quarter up 20% compared to last year, bringing in more than $1 billion. And the stock on a tear. Abercrombie skyrocketing more than 220% year to date, doing way better than the broader market and its competitors. For Gen Z, it's the hot new brand.
They have a lot of really good basics. I want it back in Canada.
For everyone else, it's the hot new rebrand. Abercrombie & Fitch has come in and out of popularity for decades, and not just for its clothes. Take it all the way back to 1892, when it was founded as a sporting goods retailer, carrying what it called high-quality camping, fishing, and hunting gear, dressing notable people like Presidents William Taft and Teddy Roosevelt. Fast forward to the late 1970s when the company filed for bankruptcy.
Now Abercrombie & Fitch is broke and going out of business.
Only for the store to gain popularity again a couple of decades later.
Rolling out more stores, more product lines.
In the 90s, new leadership meant new changes to casual luxury targeting teens.
Abercrombie & Fitch made its debut on Wall Street yesterday.
Military uniforms becoming all-American apparel. Guns hanging in stores replaced by these guns greeting shoppers. It was preppy meets sexy. Walk in the store and be hit with strong cologne, loud music, and a dark ambiance, perpetuating an unwelcoming environment for many.
It was more intimidating almost. Like you're like, I don't want to walk into there.
It attracted a certain type of customer, and if you weren't that, you didn't really get helped, to be honest.
And becoming a breeding ground for scandals. The company settled federal and class action lawsuits in 2003 after employees claimed the store refused to hire them on the basis of race, and lost a 2015 U.S. Supreme Court case where a teen faced discrimination for wearing a headscarf. Now allegations surfacing against former CEO Michael Jeffries, accused of sex abuse and trafficking. His attorney telling NBC News he would not comment on reports about his personal life. But the store is still thriving despite its scandalous past.
I think they've done an excellent job of resetting that reputation and leaving that in the past while acknowledging that, the brand was clearly making some massive errors in judgment at that time.
The company shifting to trendy styles, more inclusive sizing, trying on a welcoming atmosphere.
For somebody who doesn't have the best body or is not a model body, it's cool to see not to see that all the time.
The store's a lot brighter, it's happier.
Business intelligence company Morning Consult saying Abercrombie's brand favorability with Gen Z adults up nearly 8% in just a few months this year. But will the pendulum swing in its favor for years to come?
If Abercrombie can stay ahead of the trends with Gen Z while also connecting with older shoppers, bringing the millennials back into their stores, that's going to be really critical to see ongoing growth.
All right, Caleb Silver, my friend, joins us now to talk more about this. Who would have thought? I mean, we covered this story, the rise, the fall, and we all have teenagers. What's happening here?
This is a comeback, a Y2K style comeback. Abercrombie and Fitch is in this. Ralph Lauren a little bit, yep. Juicy Couture, even Carhartt, not just popular in the Quad Cities, popular with everyone these days. These older brands coming back to basics. Abercrombie and Fitch doing a nice job, doing a lot of it online with influencers too.
It's interesting how that name has changed over the 100 and some years, from hunting goods to, then the shirtless model guys and the weird atmosphere, and then now back to basics. It's been an interesting evolution, but the name has stayed the same.
Absolutely, and the name is more than a century old.
Right.
Ernest Hemingway was wearing that stuff too. So it's an important brand. It has been through a lot, as you say, but it's used social media. It's used making their clothes a little bit cheaper, making them more accessible. No more of those oversized hoodies and the low-rise jeans. It's across the boards right now, and look at that stock price, up 230%.
What does it say, I think, about the consumer right now? I mean, I think when you look at the consumer over the last year and a half, we've been saying, oh, no, they're going to start pulling back. But if they want something and it resonates with them or they're deep enough discounts, the consumer is still humming here.
Absolutely. Price sensitive. We're spending more on experiences, but apparel is actually going to be big again this year. Those that are spending plan to spend more on apparel, toys even below that. So apparel spending's back a little bit. Experiences go with that. Abercrombie & Fitch has done a nice job of saying, we're here for the affordable, all-fashion customer, and they're doing really well.
People keep counting out the American consumer, but that has been the wrong bet to have this past year. What do you think changes into 2024 for American spending patterns? Or, I mean, economists have just been dead wrong about the consumer for more than a year.
Yeah, we've been spending ourselves silly. We have over $1 trillion in credit card
Retail
debt.
therapy, maybe.
Retail therapy, a lot of spending $6,500 per credit card borrower in debt right now, but we are going to get lower interest rates probably next year. That's going to be some relief, both for credit card APRs, but also mortgages and everything else. Hopefully the consumer is resilient because we need consumer spending 70% of U.S. GDP.
This is where both of us remind you in a very boring way that all of that credit card debt at 20% interest is such dumb debt. That's the first thing to do is get rid of high interest credit card debt, especially at a time like this.
Absolutely.
All right, Caleb Silver, nice to see you. Thank you. The holiday season also means big movie season, and there are a bunch of films still set for wide release this month. We're talking about things like the Aquaman sequel, Wonka, a musical version of The Color Purple, all from Warner Brothers. Look at some of the other stuff coming up, too. Ferrari about the iconic car founder, The Iron Claw with Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White, and Sony's rom-com Anyone But You. That's all hopefully good news for the box office because December is crucial. In the 5 years before the pandemic, this month accounted for more than $1 billion in ticket sales, according to ComScore. Last year saw less than that, about $700 million for the month. My friend Chloe Molas joins us now. Chloe, even with Barbenheimer, a big cultural moment this year, the box office still lagging way behind its pre-COVID haul. What do you think is causing these numbers to be down? And is there maybe any one movie that can turn it around?
So I've been thinking about this a lot, Christine, and really I think it has to do with streaming fatigue. There is so much to watch. There are so many options. Obviously, it is very expensive still for the average American to go to the movies, especially to take the whole family. But let's look at the numbers. Since 2019, Christine, down 19% at $8.3 billion. And I also think that when you look at it, Christine, movies, they hit streaming services faster these days. There's less time once it's out in the theaters to when it hits that streaming service. So then there's no real rush to run out and go see a movie. Let's look at Wish, for example. I took my kids to see this movie. This was a movie that Disney was really, really looking forward to putting out. But if you read the headlines, you see the word flop all over the place. That's because Thanksgiving weekend, it took home $19.5 million at the box office. It was projected to do close to $55 million. So obviously it really missed the mark there. But there are several movies that could help the box office before we get to 2024. Wonka comes out December 15th. You also have Aquaman, and then you have Ferrari in the color purple, both big Christmas Day releases. So, look, I mean, it's a tough situation right now, but I do think, though, that next year, Tom Cruise, he might save the box office, Christine, because he has Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2. He might do it again.
Maybe he does. You know, and some studios have actually pushed back big releases to next year because of those Hollywood strikes. How has that affected this year's box office, and what does it really mean for next year, Chloe, or even the year after?
You're seeing Dune 2, you're seeing Deadpool 3. You have Dune 2 and Deadpool 3 and some of these movies that are coming out in 2024. But yes, you saw so many movies get pushed back due to the strikes, and hopefully people will go to the theaters. But like I said, Steven Spielberg said it first, and maybe it will happen again in 2024. Tom Cruise saved theaters, the box office once. Maybe he'll swing in and do it again.
Maybe he will. Chloe, thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
You too.
That's a wrap for this hour. Coverage picks up right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.